Hey everyone, I'm Stephen Kesting. My friend Rob Bernacki, he's in the studio for the day. Rob is many things, jiu-jitsu guy, but he was pretty heavily involved in MMA training and self-defense.
Yeah.
So I'm bringing him in today to talk about one of the worst situations that you can be in, which is down on the ground with somebody above you. So whether I knock him to the ground or I do the Bob Sapp double club, this is a pretty bad position, and if you train self-defense and you don't address this, you don't have a couple of answers here, you're not really training self-defense. So you're a leg lock guy, or one of your claims to fame is leg locking. So how would you apply leg locking skills in this situation?
Right, so I mean, obviously, if you were a little farther away, I would always just be looking to kind of kick you in technical stand-up. But assuming that you knock me down and we're actually standing over my hip, like basically the line of my hips is the determining factor. If you're behind the line of my hips, then my legs are going to try to push you away.
So your hips are here. If I'm here,
exactly. If you're here,
your guard into play.
I'm kicking you in the nuts. I'm pushing you. I'm anything I can do to create some space. I'm doing a technical stand-up, and I'm getting right back up. But if you're past me like this, I mean, the first thing I need to do is I'm going to cover my head, because in the time it takes me to get this entanglement, I might eat a shot. So I'm actually going to cover as much as I can using my elbow. I'm sure you've seen like the elbow destruction shield type. Yeah, good, exactly. So I'm going to be using that as I bring my legs into place. So hopefully this is going to absolve me of any responsibility for dental surgery afterwards. All right. Now my foot is going on your hip, and my other foot is going behind your butt on this side. So I'm pinching my left leg, the one that's in between your legs, towards the shin of the leg that's on top.
So now, in terms of terminology, this is very, very similar to a single leg X.
Standard ashi or ashigarami is what we would be calling this, right? Now, from here, I want to attack the leg, which means I'm going to have to continue on into what would be referred to as a reap. So I'm going to be extending my foot behind your knee, compromising your balance. You notice how now you don't have the ability to punch me anymore because you're trying to stop yourself from falling. As this happens, I'll insert my foot, and we'll usually end up with you falling either to this side or to that side. It doesn't really matter. If we fall to that side, then I'm going to end up on my right hip. In this case, I'm ending up on my left hip, and I'm going to force you to roll. I won't try to finish here because there's still too much mobility in the two joints that I'm controlling this joint. I have some control of this joint, but I don't have a lot of control of your hip. So I'm actually going to force a roll, and we're going to end up on this side. As I do that, I'm digging my forearm underneath your Achilles tendon for a heel hook, and I'm applying it for a break.
Let's just rotate here real quick.
So I will have ended up like this, with your foot trapped in my armpit, where the top of your foot is on the inside against my pec, and the bottom of your foot is on the outside against my biceps. This is creating this isolation of this lever. My forearm is slipping underneath your heel so that the blade of my wrist is catching your Achilles tendon, and I'm connecting my hands palm to palm, usually without the thumbs. There's a bunch of kind of intricate details. That's more for like a jiu-jitsu audience. But basically, as long as I'm pulling this away, I'm going to be able to start creating some damage.
Okay.
Right? And more importantly, even if we can't finish the submission, I've taken you from being on top of me to being on the ground where I control one of your legs, and now I can get up.
Well, let's just go back to this. Let's go one step back to the standard ashi or the ashigarami or the single leg X.
Yes.
They're all related.
Yep.
I mean, I know the answer here, but a lot of people are going to be saying, well, can't I just punch you here?
Right. The answer is no.
Yeah. So explain what you're doing there to make it hard for me to punch.
Yeah, so I mean, one of the common, let's just be honest about it. One of the common ignorant misconceptions about certain jiu-jitsu positions is, and this is almost exclusively from people who don't either train it or train it to any high level, is that if you're on bottom, I can punch you. That is certainly true of some positions, but a position like this where I've got two things going for me. One, I have a frame. I've got my right leg that can push you away. And as I'm pushing you away, you notice you're shifting your center of gravity. Mm-hmm. So when your center of gravity is shifting backwards, it's impossible for you to land a punch on me if I'm here. It's hard enough if we were both standing, but I'm so far away from you right now. And as I continue to push you back, you're having to try to recover your balance.
Now, the only situation where I would say it gets more complicated is if I manage to get a good grip, and I don't want to rip your wrap right here, but here, if I can anchor myself on you, it can get harder to push me away.
Yes.
Because now I'm attached to you.
Absolutely, absolutely. And then we would need to use grip breaking in a situation like this. Alternately, if we're holding here, I know now which hand you're going to throw with. If you were, if there was a possibility of you hitting me with both hands, then I've got some technical problems. But if we're here and it's just one hand, then covering against this punch is going to be relatively easy. while I push you away, start push like
Yeah.
now I'm using my other leg, and now you're anchored. It's, you know, it's the whole, if you've seen the movie Watchmen, you know, it's I'm not trapped in here with you.
Yeah.
You're trapped in here with me.
Exactly.
So you're holding on to my, you know, you're holding on to this, and I'm kicking you full force in the face.
Right.
All right. So that would kind of be the, you know, the self-defense solution there.
So I think there's a bias against leg locks in self-defense.
Oh, absolutely, yeah. But that's based on you know, the antiquated method of leg locking, which involved dropping to your back and hoping the leg lock worked. And if it
Leg
didn't-
lock or bust.
Leg lock or bust, we call it. The modern leg lock game, which involves a really well developed method of control and positional transitions and imbalancing and much more advanced braking mechanics, making it exponentially easier to break someone's leg, has kind of taken all those concerns away.
There's always that, we've talked about it before, that old Russian adage, or attributed Russian adage,
Yeah.
that if you break a man's arm on the battlefield, you've immobilized one man. If you kill one man, you've immobilized one man. If you break a man's leg, you've immobilized three.
They got to
It
carry
takes
him. Yeah.
two guys to carry him off.
Yeah.
I don't actually, as I said before, I don't think that they actually came out with a rifle, threw away the rifle, and went for an Imanari roll.
Yeah.
But I think there's a certain element of truth there. If you can't walk, then you can't run and get your gun. If you
This is
can't
absolutely
walk, you
true,
can't
yeah.
get to your car. If you can't walk, you're much more immobilized than if I break your arm.
Yeah, I mean, you know, I always teach. I mean, I believe in teaching. I'll use Faraz Zahabi's term here for those of you who don't know who that is. Trainer of George St. Pierre, I'm sure you've heard of him. A fantastic coach. He uses the term universal jiu-jitsu. Your jiu-jitsu should work in a street fight, it should work in self-defense, it should work in MMA, it should work in gi, it should work in no-gi. So I'm a big believer in that. And to that effect, we have a sort of a hierarchy of effectiveness, and the hierarchy is chokes, heel hooks, which are the techniques that easily break the leg, and then everything else is below that. Because frankly, like you said, I could armbar you in a fight, and if you're tough enough, high enough, angry, whatever, motivated, that may not be enough to finish you. But if I can break your leg, even if you want to keep fighting, I can just get up and run away, and you don't have the option of chasing me anymore.
Yeah. So we agree that choking is
Absolutely, because people who are
Hard to-
unconscious, very difficult for them to fight.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Awesome. Well, thank you so much, Rob.
Thanks, Seth.